So today is March 23rd, 2023, and this week there were 68 reported cases of COVID-19 in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, which shows a 39% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, each subject is comfortable not to wear a mask. And so I would like to ask you to introduce yourself and describe how you identify and what you look like. Your demographics.
Okay, so I am in my late 30s. I am Aquarius. I'm an African American male. I have dreadlocks. I have hazel eyes. I am 5'7". I am 225 pounds. I'm also a dining supervisor here at Queen's University. I'm also a cook. I, I have 4 kids and I have 2 grandkids. Yeah.
And so, where is home for you?
So home is originally in a little country town called Curry, North Carolina. That's located by Wilmington, North Carolina. So that's where my home is originally at. When I turned 12, I moved to Richmond, Virginia, and stayed there most of my life. And then, and I got older and graduated. I moved back to the North Carolinas.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And where were you born?
I was born in the town called Wilmington, at New Hanover.
Nice. And so, how long have you been in the Charlotte area?
It will be a year this July, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, how would you describe, how do you think COVID-19 has affected your life?
COVID-19 affected my life kind of dramatically, honestly. Thank God I haven't caught it, knock on wood. But it really changed how I look at things and how I look at life itself. I lost a lot of family members due to the COVID. Some I lost that was never sickly. And most of it was the older ones that I've looked up to. So it just changed my life kind of dramatically, like it did for pretty much most of the people. But it just made me look at life a little differently.
And how do you look at life now?
Well, the way I look at life now is pretty much I looked at life the way I normally did before COVID kind of like came. It just now I kind of put a little spin on it. And what I mean by the spin on it, now I just look at it like you have to live your life to the fullest. You can't have like no setbacks. We are also supposed to be, how they say the procedures or the PPEs. I think that was something that the COVID pretty much just embraced it a little bit more because these owls was like owls. You be like, Lord, people. I didn't know people like they don't clean their houses. So it kind of got people now. It's like, okay, we got to do better than what we're doing. Let's wash our hands a little bit more and things of that nature. So yeah.
And so, has it affected your employment status? Has COVID-19 affected that?
Actually, with me per se, I was kind of like blessed because I was an essential worker. So before I came to dining supervisor, I was a PCA. So, the PCAs and CNAs, their job never closes. So thank God with me, I didn't really have to do layoffs or things of that nature. We just had to just, be cautious, suit up, of course. But luckily with me, I didn't have to like get laid off or without employment due to what I did before I came up a supervisor. So I just kind of like luckily on that though to be an essential worker. So we had our little cards as well too because like when it first started, they was giving us out like the cards because they also had it to where some cities they had like curfews. So they gave us our card just in case you get pulled over. You can let them know, pull out the card, and be like, okay, I'm an essential worker, leaving my work here at blase blase. So with me, I was just luckily that I didn't really have to go through that as most.
And describe how like the work life was for you during COVID-19. What are some changes that dramatically changed some of the usual routines and how, like with masking and social distancing, how was that like in your workplace?
Oh, it was crazy. I'm gonna be honest, it was hectic. Um, it really made you feel in life that the small things that used to be happening is just like, wow. The masking is like, okay, we all had to wear the mask. It got kind of hot. You can't tell people smiles no more or look at a person, or people forgot the common code. So now when they jumped and sneezed and stuff, the first thing people blurted out was COVID. You know what I'm saying? So it was really kind of scary at first at work. And then social distancing, it feels like you couldn't hug a person. You couldn't visit family, you know what I'm saying? So it did a lot of change, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't for the better either. It just really made you feel like you just in a box, So my work life was kind of crazy, couldn't touch nobody, couldn't hug, especially if you was a hugger, and it made you feel like the person was dirty, because they didn't want you to touch them, or if you sneeze, or if you have a runny nose, and it was just crazy,
And how was that life at home with like your kids not going to school and everybody kind of adjusting and just being sent home, and while you had to work and you couldn't stop working, how did that affect you?
Oh man, that affected me a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. The homeschooling was a disaster with me per se, because now, like I said, I'm in my mid-30s, so life now was kind of different. So the education was kind of different. So some of the things I'm looking lost at. So it just changed my household really dramatically, because we couldn't really go places. People were scared to come to the house. So it was rough. I ain't gonna lie to you, it was rough. It really was. But we made a way though. We made a way. Yeah.
Do you mind talking about what way or what were some things that you kind of adjusted to that became like family time and that made your world feel like normal?
Yeah. So what I mean by we made the best of it, we made the best of it as far as like COVID really kind of brought families together a little bit more. Since places wasn't really open, it made you cook more, versus going out to eat. I'm a gamer, so I love to do like board games. It made us get more closer, talk more, actually ask more questions about our days and stuff instead of let's bypassing. So overall, COVID wasn't too bad as far as like bringing families together. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoyed the family time. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed us making up little TikToks, as the young kids say. I really enjoyed that, and still do. You know what I'm saying? So it changed me in a good way. Like I said, we couldn't really have visitors, so we had to make the best. And I enjoyed it though, as far as like the bonding time, Got to know my kids a little bit more now they're getting older.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your handbag.
Okay.
So who was the person or people, who were some of the people that were surrounding you? Who were the people that support? So what was your support system?
Oh yeah. I don't even have to look at the hand of the paper. The number one person in my life to this day is my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. She's raised me since a baby. My mother comes next. We was all raised in the same household together. I come from a family of 14. It's 7 and 7 of us, 7 boys, 7 girls. So with me, I was, like I said, growing up, we actually started off living with my grandmother and my grandparents. So as they got my mom, when she moved out, she really just moved 2 blocks over. And the bus still came to the same area. So I just decided to stay with my my grandparents. So my grandparents is definitely one. My godmothers, what I'm saying, my great aunts, my great uncles, I'm very family oriented. Ever since I was a child, I was privileged and honored to be in a time to where I had my great grandparents still living. and my great aunties and uncles. So I just asked them questions. So these was all, so my family was this really my support team to this day now. Um, yeah, and then as far as like my grandparents, the main one person that's above is God itself. You know what I'm saying? So these were my big role models until to this day. Yes.
And so you seem like a very family-oriented person.
Mm.
How did COVID-19 affect that relationship or seeing your family, as you mentioned earlier?
It hurted. It really did. It hurted to where it made me scared in a way. Because like I said, my grandma to this day is really, truly my biggest influence. And just to hear that COVID was taking mostly of the elderly, it made me pray even harder than I've been praying, just to be like, the Lord bless my grandmother, you know what I'm saying, my older ones, because you just didn't know if or what it would do to them. And to answer this question and above, I lied to you not. My mom and grandmother actually had caught it. So it made me even more like just nervous. But I thank God that the symptoms that my mom and grandmother had, it had bypassed. So she didn't lose like the lack of taste. You know what I'm saying? So I just thank God that she was just covered. But it really made me nervous. It really did. And it's a feeling that I wouldn't want to put that on nobody, especially if you really are family oriented. So it changed us.
Yeah. And so, so So did you have to step in to help your grandmother and your mother when they caught COVID, and how did you do that? Like for example, like giving them food or water or checking up on them. Like what was that system look like?
Well, with me per se, mine was mostly calling. I had moved out when I graduated. I moved out when I was 18. So when my grandmother and mother actually caught it, I wasn't actually living there at the time. So it was just my grandmother, my mom, and my two uncles, and my aunt, who to this day, who's also the caregiver of my grandmother. So I used to just really call and just check up on her, honestly. And I just knew my grandma, and I can never forget the night to where I called and I knew something was wrong, because my grandmother she sleeps late and she goes to bed late. And she's afraid of thunder and lightning. That's the only time that she mostly will go to bed early. And this one particular night, I called just to be calling, and the phone kept ringing. And now my grandmother's up in age. She's in her late 80s. So, she doesn't know about the call waiting. So I was like, okay, maybe my grandma's on the phone. Gave it a little while, and I called again, still no answer. And I was just like, all right. So I called my mom her cell phone, and she was like, oh, yeah. But she went to bed early. Now, it's me, like I said, knowing my grandmother, I'm like, okay, how's the weather? It was like, it's fine, something wrong. You know what I'm saying? My grandma doesn't go to bed early, you know what I'm saying, unless it's thunder and lightning, and it wasn't, so something's wrong. And my mom just at first didn't want to like lay that on me because she already felt it. But like I had told my mom, if something wrong, you got to tell me, because I know my granny, So then when they had told me that, I did panic, I did panic, but, I gave it to God, and I put it in his hands, and he made it all right.
Thankfully. And so, are there any additional stories or experiences that you would like to share about the COVID-19?
Well, in 2020, I lost one of our matriarchs in my family, my grandfather's sister, who was a major influence in my life. She was a woman who was born in the late 20s, and she's never been into the hospital. Even when she only had one daughter, she had her daughter at home. So this one particular night, I was in Walmart, and I got the call stating that they said that she couldn't breathe and that she had to go to the hospital. So that panicked me. Now, at first, the family members didn't really say that it was due to COVID, but, at that time, COVID was kind of like out there. So we was kind of like concerned. And when she passed, she still, like I said, she's never been to the hospital, and she still didn't go to the hospital because she passed at home. So that changed a lot out of me, because was a woman that I've seen all 30-some years of my life, because she lived next door to us. Like I said, this is my grandfather's sister. And she was moved into their parents' house, who actually lived next door to my grandfather and my grandmother. So I seen these people every day, and that was just a dramatic change to me. And still to this day, I lie to you not, I'm not over it. I'm just still not over it. But one thing that she has always taught us, and taught us well, every time somebody passed in our family, she will always look at us and say, "Once was born of a woman shall surely die one day." Yeah. I didn't know I was going to do that.
I'm sorry. And so, did your kids ever catch COVID?
No, thank God. I always thought that my son did at one time. He had said that he, I don't know, wasn't feeling well. So I had thought it was that, but it wasn't. But so far, thank God it haven't. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And so, so you talked about how God was one of the main support systems. Talk a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah.
How did that help you through the pandemic?
It helped me a lot because of my background and how I was raised. There was two things in life that my parents raised us to do, and that was politics and religion. We was taught to where with those two subjects, we have to be pretty much mindful, because everybody is not in the same beliefs. So when I always talk about my spirituality, I always would just use me and just say like, well, hey, my person. But the man above has been great to this day. He's protected all of us. And like I say, I can't strongly say it enough. Everybody have a different belief, you know what I'm saying? But there's still one man. And I believe that whatever name you call him is a nickname, because most of us in our families have nicknames. I have a nickname. My nickname in my family is Buster, And so that's what we just believe, that even with him, who was the creator, he has nicknames for everybody. So he could be Allah to some people. You know what I'm saying? He can be Buddha to some people. You know what I'm saying? He can be Jesus to some people. So at the very end of the day, when it's all said and done, there's going to be one man that you shall see, and this will be him. So I was just taught to where you try to treat people with respect here. You don't want to shame people, because, again, you never know who we might meet.
Right.
And you never know who we might need. And so that's why I just strongly just know that he'll take care of it. Because if you think about it, every year there was always something different. There was anthrax one year. There was swine flu one year. So every year was something different, but yet we still got over it,
And um, so are there any routines or practices that resulted from COVID-19 that you still follow to this day, and you feel like you would continue to follow even after the pandemic ends?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. the washing of your hands and the sanitation, mind you, I work in the food industry. So I used to just laugh about that because I just felt like this is something that everybody should have been doing before the pandemic happened, But yeah, I do that to this day now. And before the pandemic and after the pandemic, I'm going to still do that. Cleanliness is godliness, you know?
Yeah. So, what do you think your future will look like?
My future, I would pray that my future be blessed, and I pray that my future just has the desires that I would love and need versus want. We fail to realize that it's not always what you want. It's sometimes you need to get things that you need in life. So I just pray that I just be blessed by the best. And I just hope my children and grandkids, you know what I'm saying, be even more blessed, especially my grandkids. These generations now are changing. And I was just speaking about that the other night. My generation, we used to know what outside was and playing outside. This generation is mostly on their phones, and there's no outside playtime and no hide and go seeks and things of that nature. So it changed a lot.
And has COVID-19 affected this future?
Yeah. Yeah. It affected this future. It affected this future because, like I said, a lot of people, I go back again to, I jokingly say it about the carbon code because I think people kind of like forgot about that and just jumped to the COVID, you know what I'm saying? And not to be funny, but I also feel like some people take advantage of the COVID as well too. Because, there are some jobs now to this day that will pay for the COVID if you have it and wait to get tested and things of that nature. So, some people take advantage of them, like, oh, I got COVID, you know what I'm saying? Got to stay out of work, get paid for it, So it really did change this generation. I wouldn't say that it changed them for the better or worse because if it's something that is just brought to you and you just never knew it, you got to just live it. It's just something that we can't change. But I think it really did affect this future as far as like beating social distancing. There's still people do it now, So I think it did change this future though. Like honestly, you know.
What are your thoughts on how COVID has been viewed as time progressed?
What are my thoughts?
Mhm.
My thoughts about COVID?
Like your thoughts about how COVID has been viewed as time has progressed. Like some people say, "Oh, COVID ended," or like some people say, "There's no more COVID." What do you believe?
I I believe that it died down
Mm-hmm.
just like the rest of the things each year that happened.
Yeah.
Because as you know now, you don't really hear that talk about it too much now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really, you go into stores now, you don't see the arrows where everybody have to go one direction in this direction. Now we are, as you see, we're maskless now. Some people still by choice wears theirs. So I just feel like it just got brushed on the rug like the rest of them. Honestly, that's just my opinion though, because like I said, if you look around now, our world is slowly getting back to like it was before the COVID, because at first, there was no stores kind of like open. Everything felt abandoned, So now I feel like it's getting back together and making us more happier. And that's what I love. So yeah, it changed it. It did. But from my opinion, I just feel like it just got brushed on the rug like the rest of them.
And so there has been a lot of conversation about isolation and what has resulted from isolating. Like a lot of people realize that they use that isolation as a time to reflect and the time to just be alone because there was so much going on in the world before then, and then COVID, and then everyone was home. So how did isolation? Well, I guess you said you didn't really have to isolate, did you?
Me per se, didn't have to isolate because, like I said, knock on wood, thank God, I didn't really catch it.
Yeah.
But working in that field and being around the ones who did with isolation, I looked at it as a good thing. I mean, if you were in that predicament and you did catch it, of course you didn't want to give that to somebody else. And then it's not a bad thing too. At first some people who thought that they caught it, that it was just bad. And then I have been around some people who looked at or viewed people a certain way because they had caught it, But with the isolation thing, it gives you a time to just, like you said, just reflect on everything. Reflect on life. Just reflect on give you time to just really think about different things in life, And then, like I said, for the ones who used to look at people a certain way because they caught it, because this is something that it was out of everybody's control. It's like I said, it was like the common cold. Anybody can catch it. You know what I'm saying? And I'd have been around people, I lie you not, even my father. My father was one to where he was pretty much kind of scared of it. So he doubled up on masks and didn't really go nowhere and did these things in nature. But then me and my siblings, we kind of laughed at him because, well, guess what? He had caught it. So that was just a firm show you right there. Yeah, you never can be prepared about nothing. However much you want to wash your hands 1,000 times and wear 80 masks on your face and get hot, you can still catch it because, like I said, it's airborne. So it's just out of our control. But give you time just in isolation just to reflect on things and just be obedient. If they're saying to be isolated for 14 days, just be obedient for these 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And just do what you have to do. When you get that point to, like I always tell my patients, once your quarantine is up, give yourself another day or so just to reflect again, just to make sure and get back out there in that world and just take that and learn from that, wash your hands a bit more, be more sanitized, be more cleanliness more. And not to say cleanliness as far as like people being dirty. I just really, and to this day, I just still believe that the COVID, I think it helped people. Like I told y'all earlier, it used to be those aisles was like empty. I mean, you don't even make it empty because you have to share with everybody else now. Don't make it empty, but just be more of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, sanitize a little bit more. Wash your hands a little bit more. Switch out your gloves, when you do have to like sneeze and things of that nature, you know what I'm saying? Cover your mouths and stuff, then wash your hands again, you feel me? If you feel the symptoms or somebody else have symptoms, the biggest thing that I would tell people is your taste buds. If a person says anything about your taste and you know that you sitting down at the table and you eating a fried chicken and you can taste it and it tastes good to you and your friend is looking at you like, saying, this is nasty, I can't taste it. Then, it's a sign because that just defines the COVID versus like the common cold, because the common cold, you still had like your taste buds, right. You know what I'm saying? But versus with the COVID-19, your taste buds are not in void now. So look at little signs, little symptoms, you know what I'm saying? I think this is a learning process for everybody, honestly, because we're all in this together. So with that being said, let's learn from it, you know what I'm saying? Educate ourselves, educate on the ones who are not really familiar with it, our older ones, you know what I'm saying? And I look at that again is going back to the last question that you asked, take care better of your elder ones, you know what I'm saying? Because and your younger ones as well too, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I look at this. So I look at the COVID as far as this being a learning process for everybody, because this is something that we all has been affected, even with the celebrities, you know what I'm saying? Because, sometimes people think that celebrity lifestyles are totally different from the norm. But guess what? When COVID hit, everybody in the world. And y'all know New York is a lively state. Los Angeles is a lively state. They never sleep. But what happened one night, you look on TV and it was dead. You know what I'm saying? So everybody is a learning factor for all. And let's just all learn from it. You know what I'm saying? Ask questions about it. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know, don't be afraid to ask questions. That's why I tell my students to this day, there's nothing dumb, but there's never a dumb question that you can ask anybody. Never. You know what I'm saying? So just learn from it. Like I said, just your elder ones that you have, take that time now to shelter them and to give you that time now to speak more about your generation. You know what I'm saying? Even with you, if you have grandparents, some living, take this opportunity now to sit with them and reflect on things, talk to them, ask them questions about your parents. You know what I'm saying? Ask whatever question that you need because see, once my thing is when they're gone, they're gone. You know what I'm saying? So take that and absorb it. That's what I feel.
That's very good. And so you kept talking about patients. You mentioned your students. Talk a little bit more about that.
So, like I said earlier, I was a PCA, which is a personal care assistant. Basically, it's the same thing as a CNA. Only difference is with the PCA is that you don't have to actually do the statewide test. And I specialize in the dementia unit. So that was my favorite unit to be in. So with my patients, residents, I talk highly about them because being in the dementia unit, and that's another thing that is something that is out of our control. And you have to have a certain heart to work with people like that. And I enjoyed it because, see, a lot of people fail to realize when your grandparents or your parents catch dementia, they reflect back onto things back in the past. And, most people be like, oh, mama just saying this, da-da-da. They're saying things that happened back into the past, and you need to realize what they're saying. And to make a long story short, I had a family member years ago. Her mom used to always talk about this man named Kyle. You know what I'm saying? And she always say Kyle. Her daughter used to be like, oh, mama this rabbit, da-da-da-da. But come to find out, one year, the resident's sister came to visit. And she mentioned about Kyle. So she was like, oh, yeah, Kyle was a man that had did something dramatic to her years ago, before her daughter was born, So I always tell people, just listen. And like I said, as far as being with the heart, you have to have a heart. Dementia comes in different stages. Everybody catches it differently. You could have a person who's a wanderer, meaning that they walk a lot. You know what I'm saying? And those are the ones to where you really have to keep an eye out on. You have some that was just to the point to where their mind was short for a little period of time. And then like I had educated my mom as well too, there's a difference between aging and dementia. See, the difference between that is aging is a thing to where, let's say we go to your grandmother's house and she's cooking some turkey necks. You knock on the door and grandma answers the door and she's talking to you like da-da-da. And you be like, Mom, what's that? They say, oh, wait, my turkey necks is on. Let me go turn it off, right? That's a part of aging. Dementia is if you knock on the door, talking to mama, she's cooking and, just the house starts smoking and burning. And you be like, Mom, what you cooking? She's like, I ain't cooking nothing. That's a part of dementia, you know what I'm saying? So you have to know the difference. And like I said again, you have to have that heart of gold because the day, now that we're saying the day is Thursday, and they can be smiling at you and loving you, and on Friday they're cussing you out, and then on Saturday they don't know you. So you just have to take that and learn from it. And like I always tell people, have to have that heart of gold. I can't describe that enough because it's out of their control. As far as the students, I say that differently because of the fact that where I work at now, I work at a university. So I work with a variety of different international students. And I love it because you get to learn so much from people for so much over the world. You know what I'm saying? Even with you, per se. I had talked to you and your friends a couple of months ago. And I love it because it's like a gumbo. It's like a mesh of everything. You know what I'm saying? So I joke with a lot of the students, some of the ones who had never been in these states before. And I make a joke as far as say, oh yeah, I've been to your country, flipping to the channels. I met a young lady on yesterday. She was from South Africa. And I made a joke with her. I was like, oh yeah, I've been to the safari, on the Discovery Channel. You know what I'm saying? So I love it because you learn so much. And like I said, it's a great thing though, ask questions, as like I said with you, I asked you questions because I wanted to know, you know what I'm saying? Because it don't hurt to know, you know what I'm saying, but be polite in this, you know what I'm saying? So, but when it comes back again with the patients, I just enjoyed that. That brought me life, really, because like I said, I learned a lot. And then, like I said, just so happens I was a young one too. I was raised mostly by the elderly. So for me to sit Indian style and ask questions is a lot. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that experience with us.
Yeah.
Sounds like you really do have a heart of gold, well-rounded, family-oriented, and with your with the elderly and with your students. So thank you.
Yeah.
Um, so again, thank you for sharing your story, and it was my pleasure hearing all about your experiences in your life. So it's been an honor, and thank you.
No problem.